at my office, that's for sure.
I hear you. What's going on, guys? This is Matt Marinoff, Real Estate Recovery Group. Today I have the beautiful Stella. She works with ABA Insurance Agency. You're out of Maywood, New Jersey?
Yes, I'm in New Jersey, Fair Lawn, New Jersey.
That's it, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Fair Lawn, New Jersey. So I was actually introduced to you 6 months ago or so, actually a little bit longer than that, with the quandary of an insurance policy that I actually had on my own property. I was impressed. I was impressed with the due diligence that you guys did. I know that you are one of the vendors for the Short Sale Boot Camp Expo that we have coming up.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to meeting you and your husband actually face to face. You know, in this industry, you meet people all the time through the internet, but you never really, most times, have the opportunity to meet them face to face. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I have a little information regarding your bio and who you are, and basically you've been in the country since you're 9 years old. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself so they can hear firsthand about who you are and what you're all about?
Sure. So yes, I came to America when I was 9. So my family came to America from Russia. We're refugees and immigrants. My mom, is a hustler from back in Russia. My grandmother used to sell things in the black market during communism, trying to make extra money and running a store. My mom has always gets that from her. I try to learn from my mom, being a hustler, always trying to help people, but yet building a business. So my mom started the agency in 2009, really just out of her home and mainly concentrating on commercial lines. And, it all started from there. Before she knew it, she started a following for the commercial lines, and people started asking for home and auto. So she started to expand. She had an office on River Road in Fair Lawn, which we've since expanded to now we're off of 208 in Fair Lawn. She went from one employee, just herself, to now we have 10 employees, including myself. I joined the agency in 2017. I have a finance background, so I come from a logistics end, operations, moving metal around the country. So it felt fitting that I joined the agency, especially since we specialize in trucking, movers, anything with transportation, we're amazing with. So because I come from the logistics side, I understand the trucking world. Slowly, I got to know the agency. I started doing the commercial lines first, and now I handle commercial and personal lines. So your home, your auto, your umbrella, your boat, which has become popular right now, and motorcycle, just mostly everything. And because we're family owned and run, it's my mom, my husband, myself, and my brother out of the 10 employees. And we just, we try to find different areas that we're strong in. That way we're not stepping on each other's toes, or, it's hard, being a family. It's hard to separate the family from the business. Like sometimes we'll have dinner on a Friday night. My mom will come to my mother-in-law's house, who makes Friday night dinners a lot of times. And, it's so hard for me to say, Mom, no talking about insurance, during family time, because we'll be eating, we'll be having conversation, and all of a sudden she'll be like, wait, did you buy that policy for X, Y, and Z company, or did you talk to John Smith about his auto policy? Like, Mom, just 1 hour. No insurance talk. And that's the hardest part, being a family agency, is it's like we're always available to each other. We're always trying to build the business, but we need to find ways to step away and be a family. And that's where it's been a little bit of a harder aspect, but we're doing it, one day at a time.
So you guys offer commercial real estate, but you also have residential insurance as well.
Yes. So we handle, so we're an independent agency. Mm-hmm. So what that means is we have access to so many different companies.
Mhm.
For example, especially for commercial lines, we have Liberty Mutual, Travelers, MetLife, and so on. But same thing with personal lines. We have so many companies
Mhm.
that we can shop around for you. The good
Right.
news, we have so many companies we can shop around for you. The bad news is, the commercial that you hear from one of my competitors, in 15 minutes or less, we can save you 15%. Well, it definitely takes more than 15 minutes for us to quote, because we are really trying our best to be as comprehensive as possible. And each company has different discounts. Each company has different strengths and weaknesses. And each company has their own way of quoting the business.
Right.
So it takes time. So if you have a closing that's happening today and you needed insurance straight away, we'll help you. We'll do our best to help you, but you may not be getting the absolute best price and coverage because you haven't given us enough time to process everything. Usually if you're closing and you want truly the best shopping around on your behalf, give us a day or two just to really be comprehensive.
So that's a good question. So let's talk about real estate insurance. For
Mm-hmm.
so let's say I'm a home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it normally happens, but every now and then, something's fall between crack. Somebody calls you on a Tuesday, said, "Look, we got a closing on a Friday."
Yep.
Um,
On a Tuesday, you said, right?
yeah, so it's a Tuesday. How confident that you can put an insurance policy in place by that Friday?
Oh, very. And I'm very confident that if they call me on a Tuesday and they have, a specific budget in mind too, as long as it's realistic, we can find ways to make it work for the closing. It's been situations where somebody's financial needs needed the quote to be 1,200, and our quote was, let's say, 1,300. There's ways of increasing certain coverages, decreasing, increasing deductible, decreasing certain coverages for the closing purposes, and then we can, fix the deductible and the
Mhm.
coverage after the closing happens. We work with people to make it easier for them.
Okay. So I have a couple questions I want to ask. They're not hard questions. I'll put you
Okay.
on the spot. But it's important, I think, for my viewers that are either going to watch now or they're going to watch at a later date. And I
Mm-hmm.
never take these videos down. So it's all about information, and I want it to be up there for people. So one of the questions that I get normally, as an investor slash loss mitigation company, they ask me about insurance. I don't know anything about insurance. I don't pretend to. It's kind of like I could cut my own hair. It's not great, but I could do it. So I don't want to pretend. What type of insurance do you folks offer at your company?
So the insurance is the bread and butter, for anybody that understands insurance. Usually is generally your home, your auto, your umbrella, and the home can include renters. So if you're renting something, that's included. If you're an investor and have homes that you're investing in, we help people with their portfolio. Actually, this one investor in particular I can think of, he has a spreadsheet of homes that he can't keep track of. And he calls one of my agents and says, "Hey, did I add that home to the policy, or can you just double check to see how many homes I have?" And we make it as easy as possible for investors. So the
What a,
auto is
what a,
very
what a horrible problem to have.
it's horrible. I have too many homes. He has like 30 plus investments,
Right.
and he can't keep track of it because some of the investments are vacant properties. So he has or better yet, they're builder's risk policies, and he can't keep track of, like, when is this project being done? Do I have enough coverage on this? Did I include this policy, or has this vacant or builder's risk policy turned into a rental property yet? So we try to stay on top of his, try to help him with his portfolio, and we'll do follow-ups and say, "Hey, John Smith, we see that your builder's risk policies is at this point 3/4 done. How are you doing with the construction? Do you need us to extend it? Is it done sooner? Should we convert it for you?" So we try to help people in that aspect.
Let's talk about builders risk insurance because there are people out there, the normal, Gen Pop, they don't know what builders risk is. What is builders risk insurance and why is it so important?
Well, the basic part and the most important part is builder's risk is when you're taking, let's say you bought a house, did a short sale, whatever, and you're making major renovations on the home. There is construction time and all that. If you're adding an addition or any of that kind of, if you're not living in the property, you should be getting a builder's risk policy. What that means, those are short-term policies. They could be 3 months, they could be 9 months, they could be a year. It all depends on how long it takes to build and update the property. And that's a builder's risk policy. It's a very short-term policy. It's a very short-term policy that, sorry about that. It's a very short-term policy, and that helps you with the construction time. And it has different coverages than your general home. I'm sorry, general home that's being lived in. The joys, first of all, I don't know if you can tell, I'm in my son's room. I'm not at work right now. The joys of my kids being home the last few months. I can't even think straight, talk about builder's risk. They're being loud. I apologize. So I have 3 kids that are little. My oldest is 9, my youngest is 4. And sometimes when people call for insurance, they may hear my 4-year-old screaming. So I apologize in advance.
No, that's fine. Understood. So when you say builder's risk insurance, so the builder's risk insurance at any given time, can it automatically turn over into a regular insurance policy? Or is it something that whoever has the policy in place, they have to stay on top of it and say, hey, look, the building's done, got our certificate of occupancies. What's next? What happens from there?
So just to make sure that people understand, builder's risk covers your contractors, the materials, the equipment, and anything that relates to construction. Just make sure that's covered. Once the builder's risk policy goes to, let's say, 9 months from now, and you say, you're done with the construction, then you have to let us know, what are you doing with that property? Is it going to be a vacant policy? So we're doing the basic coverages, meaning there's no property inside. So you built this home, it's done, nobody's living there, so there's no liability. No property is in there, so there's no liability of your property getting burned down outside of the home. The vacant is different than a rental. So let's say then you finished building it and you're going to be renting it out to a family, single family home. Then it becomes a property that needs to be covered. Not only are you the owner of the home, so to a certain extent, exterior and some interior aspects of it, you need to make sure that your tenants then have a renter's policy to cover their belongings. So you need to make sure that your insurance company knows that this is now a rental property. Now, the coverages for a rental property, your the value of the home, the structure, let's say that all the things that you cover for different perils, except the people who are living there, it will not cover their belongings. So it's important that you specify what kind of intentions you have with the property. So if you decide to sell it and it's going to be on the market, but you're living there, then it has to be your primary residence, and it's a different liability if a family member were to get hurt. You have a party and somebody gets drunk and leaves your home, you are then responsible as the person living in the home if they get hurt. Sorry, that's kind of like going in a different direction. That's why umbrella coverage is really important, especially if you entertain a lot, or if you have like a pet that might bite, a pool, because sometimes the home coverage doesn't have enough available liability coverage. So if somebody gets drunk in your home, you have a big house party, there's 20 people, and there's a death or something of that nature that occurs coming from your home, you are the person who provided the alcohol and you could be responsible. So an umbrella coverage is definitely important for people to have. It's excess to your home, but
Mhm.
always important to have that added coverage if you plan on entertaining a lot or have a pool or a dog or a business.
How can you work with builders, investors,
Mm-hmm.
renovation people? How can you help with people like that?
So the one way we can help is by helping keep track of their projects. So if you need that kind of hand holding, we can do that. I have a specialist that specifically handles that. We consider that part of personal lines. So she'll help, touch base with you when things are coming up. She'll help guide you with what you should be doing halfway through to just keep continuously. So with builders risk, because it's such a short-term policy,
Right.
it's very important for us to continuously be in touch with each other, especially if you're adding more and more to your portfolio.
Hmm. So obviously, builder's risk, in my world means a lot. I have heard stories where people would renovate a property, not take out a builder's risk policy. Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know what? You could ask. I think it was Jen Romero who actually mentioned it to me and said and told me the scenario where what was actually owed on the property, what the property was actually worth. But I guess the house got struck by lightning.
Okay, that's a covered peril.
There was no insurance coverage.
Oh, because it's not a proper. They probably either didn't have insurance at all or probably had the wrong coverage.
I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently they had no insurance on it. You should actually call her and answer that
Oh, wow.
question. Yeah, that's insane. If I thought about it sooner, what's that?
That's really scary, especially if you're depending on your contractor to have insurance. So yes, your contractor could have general liability, but the contractor's general liability is to cover the contractor.
Right.
It's not to cover the structure. That's
Yeah. So I think the property was purchased with all cash. Then they renovated it, and then it got. And it's not even funny. Then it got struck by lightning.
so they finished the renovation and then it got struck. And they never purchased the policy. Wow, that's
This is a while ago. We're going back like at least 3 years.
So the one thing I have to say about builders risk is we have really competitive markets in price.
Mhm.
I have, which sounds silly, but other insurance agents sometimes reaching out to us saying, "Can you help me with one of my clients and help them cover?" And I'll be the person will be the middle person, and
Mhm.
I'll act like a broker in that regard.
Mhm.
If they want a service they can, or they can just give me the referral. That's fine too. But it makes me feel really proud because we really have built a pretty good book of options for builders risk to have other insurance agents reach out to us,
Mhm.
and some well-known ones too. It's it makes me feel good to know that we have those options. But in order to have those options, you have to be writing a good amount of business.
Right.
So you can open up an agency and say, "Oh, I can just write builders risk myself." Well, you can, but you may not have the most competitive price. You may not have access to markets that are only available if you're writing a certain number of business
Mhm.
per month, per year. So because we write so much of it, we have a pretty good options for people.
Okay. So a couple things. I have two questions that I think are very well, actually, this is a two-parter. Um, as far as helping people with closing and with the process itself, somebody's a first-time home buyer. The majority of first-time home buyers, they don't know what to do with insurance. They don't know what to do with the electricity. They don't know what to do with you know I haven't. I'm getting a car as soon as we close on the property. I was told not to, for obvious reasons, credit and everything, that the income stuff like that. Do you actually get? I mean, because I know you and your husband were pretty extensive with me as far as the questions, but I'm seasoned. Do you do a lot of whole hand holding with new first time home buyers?
Yes, especially first-time home buyers. We try to explain things a little differently
Mhm.
because I want them to not to walk away with, okay, I just have insurance and not know what it means. If they're willing to, I've had both scenarios. Scenario one, where they could care less, they're like, give me the cheapest price, and that's the end of the day. You do your work, and I'll just buy the policy. I've had those type of clients, and I've had clients that said, okay, why is my coverage at 800,000 versus the home value or the purchase price? Um, and I try to explain little things like that. And they'll say to me, well, my credit is, let's say 630 or 640. It's middle ground. It's not perfect. It's not terrible. Why is my insurance a little higher? Well, your credit comes into play. So we always try to say if it's like two people buying a home, husband and wife, whatever, the partners, we always try to see who has the better credit, and we put the person with the better credit as listed number one. Doesn't matter how the mortgage is structured. We always try to put that person as the first person on the policy. That way, you get a little boost in the coverage. So that's a little trick to help with price. Another thing is, again, we'll walk through the coverages. We'll go as deep as the person wants to know. But the good part is, I know that they're in a hurry. I know that a lot of times closings feel like being through a hurricane because everybody's pulling at you. And this is what I offer. I say, we're going to go through it. I can do my job and give you the best coverage and price. When everything is over, I'm happy to go through everything with you. Let you know what you have. Maybe change things, because the good news is, just because you have a policy at closing doesn't mean we can't update it even the next day after the closing. Doesn't mean we can't have a really in-depth conversation after the closing. And you say to me, I really do feel comfortable with having a deductible of 2,500 versus 1,000. If you feel comfortable with that, you may pay less for your insurance. That's fine. Generally speaking, most policies are $1,000. So it's kind of like, it really depends on the person and their comfort level. It may go in one year, come out the other during the closing period, and they just want to get it done. And that's what most of the time happens. And the process is, as long as you give us at least 24 hours, ideally, we can do really good things when it comes to insurance. Some companies, it's not even us. Some companies, the underwriting may take a little extra in order to get the best coverage. It really depends on the circumstances. The application process we'll ask is, do you know and these are things that are in your inspection report. What is the roof? When is the electrical system been updated last? These are important because some companies will not accept you if your roof is older than 20 years. Not some companies, most insurance companies
Oh wow!
will not accept you if the roof is older than 20 years. So what do we have to do? We have to go above. We'll have to go to maybe surplus lines or the specific companies that are okay with it. Maybe we, look at for contingencies and you we'll have to work harder, and that's okay, but that takes time. So if the home is much older and you plan on renovating it, then that should be potentially a builder's risk policy.
Right.
But for the closing purposes, we'll make it work. We'll ask all these questions. We'll find the right fit for you. But the heating, these are the most important aspects. The electrical system, your roof, and the heating system. When has it been updated last? Those are the key information. Of course, if you have a trampoline or you plan on adding a trampoline after you move in, or if you have a dog that's on the vicious dog list, if you have a pit bull, or there's a list of 10 dogs that are rated differently, then there's certain companies that just won't take you. And the good news is, good and bad. After the closing, an inspector is going to come out, and more than likely, a lot of these companies, they'll have a drive-by inspection. You may not even know it; they're doing it. They may even look at Google Maps sometimes, and as part of their inspection, and they'll know. They'll see if they see a dog in your window and you said no dog. Well, then they're going to write a letter to you with intent to cancel. Or if they see an aerial picture during the month or 2-month period of your backyard having a trampoline and you said no trampoline, well, you're going to get a cancellation notice.
Do they ever make mistakes with stuff like that?
Yes, and that's where I fight it. Not just mistakes with that stuff, but mistakes with a claim. So let's say you have damage to your home and it should be covered. I have public adjusters that I work with that you do not pay. Only they get paid if you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll evaluate the situation, they'll review your insurance documents, and they'll fight on your behalf. And I have those kind of resources.
That's pretty cool. See, I never would have thought of that.
And sometimes insurance companies just want to, from the exterior, it looks like it's just a denial, but there's more to it. So there's a story about a client of ours that had this specific tile in their kitchen that was broken. One tile, okay, mind you. Mm-hmm. So their policy is replacement costs, so like in kind. It had to be similar to that to be replaced, or similar in cost or quality, like in kind. Mm-hmm. One tile, okay? So it came down to that tile is no longer manufactured. That tile was imported from, Italy, and the cost to replace the entire floor was $10,000.
Oh my God.
Like in kind. So we had a public adjuster work with this individual, and they got the claim covered. One tile was broken.
Oh my God.
When they initially put the claim in, they were trying to fix it because it was expensive flooring. It was denied because it was less than the deductible. Deductible is $1,000, right? But when you evaluate it further, when all these people got involved, the public adjuster got involved, they were able to get their claim through. Their entire floor was replaced. And that's just some of the resources we provide for our clients.
Can we switch off the beaten path a little bit? Am I allowed to talk about my situation or no?
Yeah, of course. It's your you can speak about anything you want. It's your comfort level.
So today I actually got a phone call.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I was going to call you tomorrow about it.
Right. So I have an adjuster coming out on Friday,
mm-hmm.
and they're actually going to look at my vehicle and try to determine whether or not it's going to make sense to fix it or not fix it.
Total it and get you another car?
I don't know how they can give me another car for it.
I mean, the value of it, because you have full coverage.
Yeah. Can I talk about the scenario or no?
Sure, of course. Whatever you're comfortable with.
All right. So basically, because of this whole COVID thing, we have three vehicles, but there's only really 2 drivers in the house, like full-time drivers. Not even the last couple of months, we put no miles on the vehicles.
Yes.
But we have 2 new vehicles, but then we have an older vehicle. And I went to go start it, and it didn't start. And I was like, smells really weird in here. And I'm looking over, and I'm like, I don't remember the last time I had a Dairy Queen ice cream cone with chocolate sprinkles. And I was all skeeved out. So my truck had an actual infestation of rodents in it. So, but my car won't turn over. I can't open the hood of the vehicle. And I'm like, what is going on? So I called because I wanted to find out, is there any type of insurance policy that would actually, help with a scenario when there's infestation in a car, and apparently there is. You want to explain how that works?
So, because in a home, vermin is not covered in home policy. In auto, funny enough, it is covered. And some insurance companies, will exclude it. So it's very important to look at the exclusion of the policies that you're looking at, especially if you live in an area where you could potentially, if you live in New York City, on the street, you may not have rodents that come into the car. I mean, they live underground, but less likely. But if you live in a woodsy area and your car is parked for a long period of time, you're more likely to have rodents in your car. So it's very important to look at the exclusion portion of your insurance policy. So in your scenario, you reached out saying you smelled, rodent feces. I reached out to Hanover, and one thing I have to say about Hanover, they only write with agents. So it took me a long time to get appointed with them. They needed a certain number of policies that we write, and they're very strict with that. They have, as of like 6 months ago, they only had 80 insurance agents in the state of New Jersey that wrote Hanover. So, we're one of them. Hanover's policies are higher tier. So they're not the most platinum. Chubb is probably, for it's a little bit more pricier with a little bit with more coverage, but they're up there. They're one of the top companies when it comes to great coverage. And, they cover this. It's not an exclusion. And that's amazing because we went with a company that had, we saved you money. It had better coverage than you had before. And in situations like this, that's why you buy insurance. You get it for the unknown. And luckily they were able to help you. Hopefully everything will go well with the vehicle and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, listen, from your mouth to God's ear, I hope, because I really don't want to get rid of I'm not ready to get rid of the vehicle.
It's not excluded. It's just a matter of the extent of the damage and what you want to do with it. If can the vehicle get fixed? That's the only problem.
Yeah,
that's more of a mechanic issue. Can he fix it?
Yeah, I don't know. I should find out. So whoever I spoke with at the insurance company was very nice. Explained what I needed to do. Actually walked me through the whole process. Gave me a claims number so that I could contact them, or I could contact my local agent or whatever. So it's amazing that there's so many. I never would have thought to even call, but my wife is like, you should definitely look into this, because if we had it, somebody else must have had it as well.
Exactly.
So, and apparently it's not a common thing, but I guess it does. And we do, we have a very dense, high wooded backyard. We cleared our backyard, so it's grass, but or the whole surrounding of it. And I guess they were like,
yeah, you're definitely more likely to have that. And I've seen this scenario specifically. I was telling you how I've seen a few posts, because I try to stay up to date with insurance stuff. So I belong to a bunch of insurance groups. And over the last few weeks, I've seen a few posts about rodents going into vehicles.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that.
That's why I was like, oh, this is so timely. This is perfect.
I don't know about that. Not perfect for me, I can tell you that. I don't know exactly what happens, but I guess the vehicle has to be towed to wherever I want for them to check it out, and I guess we'll take it from there. So hopefully it's not a huge issue. I'm assuming that the cleaning of the vehicle or the detailing, whatever, all that is
all taken care.
Yeah, it should be covered.
As long as, approved that the vehicle can get, in running function, that it's not totaled, then you should be okay.
Yeah, it was, believe me, it was a shocker to get into the vehicle. And you know what? Nobody ever says, hey, you know what? During the COVID time, have you heard anybody say on TV, hey, just because you're not going anywhere, get into your vehicle, turn your engine on, take it around the block. Like, nobody's even talking about that. So
no,
and going anywhere.
And right now, people, especially that have not driven at all, are going to find some, not just rodents, but vehicles not starting. If they haven't started, older vehicles especially,
Yeah.
not starting.
I never would have thought to look into it. I appreciate the fact that, I was able to reach out and, obviously you gave me the correct information. So that's cool. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yep, I'm here to help you, the whole process. And that's one thing. I don't want to, toot my own horn, but not just myself, but any independent insurance agent, they're there to help you and guide you when needed. It's different than calling an 800 number where you're getting a different person every time. Not just with me, but I highly recommend with using an independent insurance agent whenever you can, and bundling your coverage, like home, auto, umbrella with the same company, because they get you a better coverage, the best rate with discounts included. So Hanover is definitely a great company to go to.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's talk about this because this is important and I need people to understand. When I had reached out to you and Bernie and I had asked about my insurance, you had talked about maybe merging or looking at my auto and my homeowners policy.
Mm-hmm.
And it also talked about an umbrella policy or what have you. So I'd always had my auto and I'd always had my homeowners insurance separate. And quite honestly, nobody ever really said to me, hey, would you like us to do either, like, I guess, what is it called? Bundle pack or whatever.
Yeah. Bundling.
Right. So the last insurance company I had, and I don't want to knock anybody, the policy that I had on my house apparently was not favorable. And you folks looked at it and said, not a great company. I was told it was a great company. And then I think Bernie or somebody sent me articles, information regarding it to say, look, educate yourself. I never had that experience before. So I don't know if this is actually normal that you guys actually offer that. I'm sure you offer it for everybody, but I don't think it's normal practice where insurance companies usually do that. Like, that famous companies, hey, we'll get you a quote in under a certain amount of time, whatever it is. I doubt that they're offering that type of service. So what would you say, like, for insurance policies and them not being the same out there? And do you have a roll of duct tape that I could use to put on my dog's mouth?
It's okay. So I'm getting a dog in about 2 weeks, so I'm excited for that barking soon.
Don't do it.
Too. In regards to, not all companies are created equal. Some companies will give you coverage and you look at the liability. But let's talk auto. They'll give you okay limits for the state, for legal limits. You may not realize. So I just want to talk about like 3 parts that you asked about. Number 1, when it comes to coverage, you may think you have the proper coverage until you actually need it. So the state limit in New Jersey for auto is $1,530, which, to break it down, it's $15,000 per person in an accident, that the other person, not you, and $30,000 total damage. This includes damage to the other vehicle. This includes if anybody has to go to the hospital, all hospital bills. So if you have multiple people in the vehicle, it's $30,000 maximum. Let me tell you right now, $15,000 is not going to take you very far when it comes to injuries and the hospital bills. It's not. Just the ambulance ride alone could be $7,000, $8,000, up to $11,000. I was told, just for the one person. So you're already maxing out some of the coverage. What happens afterwards? Afterwards, above the $15,000, they can sue you and use your assets as collateral to help cover the gap. So let's say it costs $25,000 for that person to get rehabilitation, whatever is needed for the claim, go see the doctor for a year, work out their back injury or whatever the case may be. The other part is coming from you. You have to find a way to cover it. Either you can sell your home. whatever you have. Okay, I don't have a home. I rent. I don't really have too many assets. That's okay. You live in New Jersey. New Jersey is a state where judgments can be held for 20 years. So, are you planning on having a home in the next 20 years? Uh, so the point is that's the state limit issue. So we always tell people to get the proper coverage when it comes to liability. Great, you have 100, 300. That seems to be the middle ground for most people. If they're homeowners, 250, 500 if they want an umbrella. Let's talk about your coverage. You are injured in the accident. Your personal injury protection, because New Jersey is a no-fault state, it comes to your insurance. Most of these companies will give you okay coverage, let's say, in your liability for the other person.
Well, back up, because not everybody understands how insurance works. When you say no fault, let me give you an example. I'm driving a vehicle. Somebody comes and crashes into the front of my car. They get out of the vehicle and they go, oh my God, totally my fault. I'm sorry. I'll tell the police officer. They go and tell the police officer. They write up the police report. Driver A was hit by driver B, does a diagram and basically said it was their fault. Now the insurance companies get involved. Now driver's B insurance company, there's a method to my madness here. Driver B says to driver's A insurance company, nah, wasn't his fault. It was the other guy's insurance. It was his fault, the driver A. Go ahead.
So, okay, just to talk about no fault. When it comes to no fault, your injuries, your insurance company will cover if you are the cause of the accidents. So you need to have rehabilitation. And your personal injury protection coverage is at $15,000. That coverage is going to go quickly. And most attorneys will, let's say you have to sue the other person because they don't have enough coverage to cover for your injury, and you have to tap into your personal injury protection.
Right.
They say you need to have the state limit, which is well above 15,000. Because sorry, I don't know.
No, okay.
So the bottom line is, most of these insurance companies, the ones that provide the auto coverage, will give you 15,000, which is like the minimum. The problem is they don't tell you why you need it. And then when you get into an accident and you need to have coverage, you don't have it. Let's say the other person doesn't cover it in the accident. It's no fault.
Right.
Then you can't sue them. It's harder to get the coverage if you have the state minimum, not even the state minimum coverage. So when you go to these 800 numbers, a lot of times they save you money by skipping on the coverage for you, not the other person that's in the accident.
Interesting.
And that's where what happens is they'll choose health insurance first. So they'll choose for you to go to your health insurance company for your injuries instead of you got into an auto accident. You need to tap into your auto policy.
Right.
Your auto policy is set up to go to your health insurance, but some health insurance companies will say, no, we will not be first on an auto coverage. You needed to make a secondary. And then you have to foot the health bill. So if you end up saying, you know what, I want to save money in my auto insurance, I don't care about the PIP coverage, I want health first, call your health company and say, if I were to get into a car accident and my PIP coverage is set up for health insurance first, am I covered for an auto accident?
Right. So you're really working with people that have no idea what insurance is, but you're also working with people that might be like, I never would have thought to ask any of these questions, and I think I'm a relatively smart guy.
So a lot, and you are, and a lot of the things. So when it comes to the structure of my agency, I have individuals, Bernie, for example, that'll help with the personal lines and do the quoting.
Bernie Bernie's your secretary?
He's my husband, my secretary. He's the main person so I'll talk to people, but then I'll guide them to him, or the other person does personal lines.
Right.
And the reason I do that is because they'll get into the nuts and bolts of the situation. They'll really make sure that I'm not missing anything, that, we truly shop around with every company. They're a little bit more patient than I am. I don't sit there quoting. They'll do that a little better than I do. But the reason I say it is then that frees me up to build the business. That frees me up to have the longer conversations with somebody. And if I don't know something, I mean, that's the part where I've been in the business for 3 years. I have people to lean on. I have a specialist that has, in insurance terms, like a master's degree in insurance, basically,
Right.
where she's been in the industry for 20 plus years. Bernie has been doing it since 2012. He's been doing it, with longer than I have. My mom since 2009. So it's like I have, plus my industry helpers, the people that I do business with, refer business to in other states, for example. We talk to each other. I'm constantly learning. So my role is to kind of feed people information and then make sure that they talk to the appropriate person that can go the next level. So if I can't explain PIP coverage the best, I know for sure Leah or Bernie can do it better sometimes than me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain builder's risk the best. I have a team of people that specialize in builder's risk. So
Right.
I'm just happy that I have that kind of support in my agency.
Right. Listen, you're fortunate. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have a hub where they can go to and deal with other, agents or representatives, as the case may be. Having 10 people working in an agency, it's not a small agency. That's in my opinion, that's a fairly large agency. It's not like you have a huge national brand company. Now, one of the questions I wanted. So obviously, as far as the policies in the company, the answer is no. Not every policy and not every company is the same. And it sounds like, I wouldn't sell yourself short. You said you've been in the agency for 3 years, but I mean, realistically, you've really been in the insurance industry probably most of your life because of your mom.
Well, from my previous industry, when I was dealing with commodities, I was the insurance specialist for marine insurance, and I was the insurance specialist for trucking and containers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was training and filing insurance claims before I even got into the industry, and I was in that industry for almost 10 years, the transportation. But there's so many things. I had a guy that reached out to us, and I do my best. If I can't help, I'll refer to somebody else.
Right.
Not everybody is meant to be our client, and maybe personalities or coverage we can't do. So he reached out. He was doing cognac tastings at people's homes, and it's not so he'll bring different bottles of cognac.
That's his job.
That's his job.
That's a job. Go ahead.
So he would bring different cognacs and maybe cheeses and stuff, different foods that go along with it. And he wanted liability coverage. And I swear, I made it my mission to call every company under the sun because I wanted to help him. But then I realized, you know what? I'm sorry, but we can't help everybody. And then I referred him to somebody else that specializes in odd, like food tasting type. It's like entire industry of wine and alcohol tastings. So I referred him. So
Jennifer Lopez wants to know if you can match her insurance policy on her ass.
Oh, you know what? I think I can. For Jennifer Lopez, I'll make it happen.
Jennifer, no problem. You got a new kid on the block.
I'm turning red. Oh, so everything is insurable.
Everything? You sure everything's insurable?
There's a market for everything. You know what? If it's an asset to you, then it's insurable. everything from an event to your ass.
Hey man, everything from A to Z. You got it.
Yeah, there's somebody who specializes it out there. And that's why I'm part of Insurance Agency Owners Alliance. At this point, I think there's like 6,000 people in the group from all different states. And it's literally just, insurance agency owners. And we get together online and we meet once a year at a different venue. And we just literally learn from each other how to help people who need, especially odd insurance. I am more than happy to refer business to somebody that I know will have similar ethics as me. When you're a business owner, they treat things a little differently versus sometimes if it's just like a day job for somebody. Like, this is my livelihood, this is my family, and they feel the same way. So I try to reach out to my insurance agency owners for that.
So I want to tell you a quick story, and then I want to find out what areas that you cover and what insurance policies. So I've been in my house now for about 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got in my house, we had an insurance policy, and then from there, I noticed my insurance policy was creeping up. We had a situation in my house. Somebody had gotten hurt. It was a family member,
Mm-hmm.
And there was an insurance claim. So my insurance went up a little bit. Okay. But then my insurance company, I kept going up, and I said, what is going on? And they said, well, this is due to, whatever that claim was. You'll never get insurance any lower than where you are now. Well, I ended up getting insurance that was lower to the tune of, I think, $1,400 a year, which is a lot of money. Thinking
Mm-hmm.
that I was covered with the right insurance. But then I ran into you guys because of Jen Romero, Deals and Heels. And she said, reach out to Stella. She's great. Actually, she's like, Stella! But anyway, so I reached out to you guys. And between the homeowners and the auto, I end up saving an additional $500 a month. That's a lot of money. So now I'm like, who the hell do I trust? It's like the insurance mafia, because you never really know. But at least now I know, and the only way I could describe this, and I'm just going to say it, you're probably too young to have a colonoscopy done. But if you've ever had a colonoscopy or you've given birth, it's a very tender area. It's something very serious. You got to take it serious. So you just don't trust anybody to do it. I feel the same way with insurance. And I think no matter what happens going forward forever with insurance that I do, as long as you guys are in business, I would always give you a shot. Versus before, I'm like, nah, forget it. They're robbing me. At least I would come back and give you guys a courtesy, because you have been very nice, caring, nurturing. And this last thing with my truck, I mean, I never would have thought anything of it. So, and it's probably going to cost me a ridiculous amount of money to fix it. But if it doesn't, there's another reason why people should reach out to you guys. So I have listeners that listen all over the United States, not just here in New Jersey. So if somebody's reaching out and they want to know, like, what areas do you cover? What areas do you cover? And what insurance policies are you guys allowed to offer?
So because we're licensed at this point in 16 different states, so this includes New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. We have an office in Florida that we're building right now. Mm-hmm. So we have access to markets in Florida, mm-hmm. North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, Illinois, California, Texas. Mm-hmm. Those are just some of the states that we are licensed and write actively business in. Mm-hmm. With that said, I mean, we just recently became licensed in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And because we had a pretty good size business potential there, if I can't help you, that's when I tap into my network of insurance agency owners. And I put it out there. And then I vet the person as well. And I talk to them, hey, this is what I need. This is the type of person.
Right.
Then I connect the individual. So if somebody were to reach out to me and they're located in Hawaii, okay, or they're located in Alaska, or they're located in Kansas, and I'm not licensed there, my agency's not licensed, I can guarantee you, I have somebody in my insurance agency owners lines that not only will help you, will take extremely good care knowing that it's a referral through our network. We take it
Right.
very seriously.
I wish that was the same in my industry. It's not. There's a lot of unsavory individuals in my realm, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that there's somebody out there like that. I would definitely like to, try to refer more business to you folks. One of the reasons why I wanted to um, showcase you guys at my next boot camp was because of the morals, the options, nothing, asking me specifically, what do I have in jewelry? What is it that I have in the house? Do I have any artwork? I was never asked the amount of questions, that I had, when I was talking with Bernie on the telephone. And Bernie has a very dry sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
I'll leave it at that. He's a nice fellow, but I try to crack jokes with him, and he's like, "Is that it? Are we good?" But he's thorough, and
He's
sometimes that's better than having somebody that you can joke with on the telephone, and having somebody that's going to be able to, obviously guide you, through a situation like this. Because God forbid, you never know.
Well, he definitely separates, talking about business versus, joking around with somebody better. And the one tip for anybody that has high value items in their home, especially art, or anything hot, jewelry, not
Right.
just make sure your insurance agent knows about it, but also, if you can, take pictures, save the pictures on the cloud, save pictures, save receipts. If you don't have the physical receipt, you don't want to keep it, take a picture of it and make a folder, valuable items in my home. If you want to get really creative, comprehensive, take a phone camera and do a video of your home. This is my living room. This is my $10,000 TV. And just do a video of each room and then save it on the cloud. And then, God forbid you have a fire and everything is lost, then your wig collection is then documented. Sometimes wigs are very expensive, or whatever the case may be. Your jewelry is damaged, and you have the before, the video. You walking around saying, "This is my home," and save it in the cloud, and just make sure it's secure. You don't want just anybody having access to this kind of information.
Right. Here's my $8,000 fork. Here's my $35,000 calculator.
Wow. Amazing. Those look legit.
Here's my pen that I got made for 69 cents, but the actual true value is $1,500.
You know what? That's legitimate. I believe it.
So I don't know how those things actually add up or whatever. So is there anything you want to add before we close out the interview?
Just no matter who you work with, definitely make sure they know your circumstances. If you have a one family home converted to two family, make sure your agent knows that you have someone living in a property. Even if you have a rental contract, make sure your agent knows, because that changes the terms of your policy.
Right.
Don't be shy to talk to your agent and ask questions. Go through scenarios with them, because it's better that they know and find creative solutions for you than find out when there's a claim that happens. And it's really important to have a good relationship with somebody, not just call a call center when things are bad. So with that said, no matter who you use, make sure that they're an independent, reputable agent, or somebody that you have a relationship with. If they're not an independent, even if it's an Allstate, but you have a relationship with that agent, that's the most important part, because they're going to be there for you when something is needed.
No, 100%. Guys, my guest today is Stella Lemberg from the insurance company ABA Insurance Agency. Their number to reach out to them is 201-300-6275, extension 101. Again, it's 201-300-6275, extension 101. And you can reach out to, obviously, Stella or any of the rest of them. Thank you so much, Stella, for coming on today. I really appreciate it. It was fun having you. It was actually good to see you face to face. I've never met you face to face yet.
Oh, that's true. You know, with Facebook, it feels like you know people forever, but it'll be nice to see you one day soon.
Absolutely, 100%. So listen, at the end of every show, I ask people if they can emulate my finger point. Do you know what my finger point is? Where's your finger? Where's your camera? All right, good. I like that. I saw you did the wink there. I like that.
I was trying to find my camera. I was like, where is it?
I'm trying to find my camera. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's nice to be on. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.